order. The first item on our agenda that will share a little personal experience. In
This
June,
meeting is being recorded.
thank you. In June, I came in here, I think it was Flag Day, and out on the counter, I saw a container that was filled with these little flags. And quite impressive. The idea was to pick up a flag, and along with it were these documents, some information about our flag, little quiz, and so forth. And so you have a flag and these papers in front of you. And this was done by our man Morgan Walker. And I was so impressed with that, I wanted you to meet him and give his our appreciation for the emphasis he placed on the flag. And I have asked him to come today to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. I will turn it over to.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Furthermore, you each have your own flag in front of you today. If you have taken a look at your agenda, you will see a little bit of change in the wording of the public comment session. I'm going to try to resume what we used to do, to have a public comment session at the very first of our meeting. So within the parameters of the guidelines that's on your agenda, I'll call for any public comment at this time. Is there anyone here wishing to make any public comment? Okay, just quickly, for the board members, if you see anything about this guidelines for the public comment session, let me know, or let Mark Bryan know, and we will keep this hopefully something that we can do at the beginning of each meeting. All right. We will close the public comment session since no one has come forward to make public comment. The first item on the agenda, the next item number 4, the consent agenda. There are the minutes for May 27, the traditional reports, and quite a number of contracts. And in your agenda, you have a little review of the amount and what each of the contracts are about. Anything you wish to pull from the consent agenda for further deliberation or discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the consent agenda.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I would second it.
And moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda as presented in your packet today. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. All right, and it is approved. Moving on down, I don't know why this is on the agenda, whether it's just for my benefit or maybe the benefit of all of us. But Kim, you have the floor.
Well, actually, Tina has the floor.
Okay.
Producer.
Okay,
Just we go to the podium.
all right.
Okay, Okay, well, it is my pleasure to introduce Tina Giarduzzi. Actually, there's not even a. Yes. Just making sure. So low, I was expecting a bigger microphone. But it's my pleasure to introduce Tina Giarduzzi. She's a program manager for health promotion. Her passion in public health really shines through in all of her hard work and dedication. She manages a really good team of 5 health education specialists as well as an administrative assistant. She also manages over 15 programs, and several of those programs she actually coordinates herself directly. So today she's going to talk about one of those programs that she manages, which is Fit and Fall Proof. Fit and Fall Proof is really a program that is dear to my heart because it serves the seniors in our community. And so I'm going to let Tina talk about Fit and Fall Proof.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and the board. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm very excited to talk about one of the programs I have the privilege of overseeing. And thank you, Kim, for the very kind introduction. So as Kim mentioned, I am the program manager over our health promotions team. So I do get to oversee about 16 different contracts here at the health district, many of which you just approved, so thank you. Gary, who is the Fit and Fall Proof coordinator, was unable to come today due to the fact that he's actually out in the field, assisting the Blanchard Fit and Fall Proof site get up and running and make sure their trainers were doing what they're supposed to be doing. So do I have oh, you're my clicker, thank you. Great, onward and upward. So for today, we're going to be discussing a brief background of why Fit and Fall Proof is an important part, or why fall prevention, is an important piece to health in our community, what the landscape of this project looks like, and what the program actually entails. So this is the one. Okay, so excuse me. So as you know, the population here in North Idaho is the 65 plus population is the fastest growing that we have. They make up about 25% of our current demographic. So reaching this population has been a priority for our health district for some time. So why fall prevention, or why is this an emphasis that we're focusing on today? So falls are the leading cause of injury and death among those who are 65 and older, increasing their disability. As many as 1 in 3 adults over the age of 65 will have a fall each year. Beyond the morbidity and mortality that falls can cause, it also increases their fear of falling, and which decreases mobility as well as their normal functioning. Physical activity is a major part, as you all are aware, of individuals' ability to live independently. So this is taken from Kootenai Health's data from January of this year and through July. So there were 626 traumas, 285 of them were from ground level falls. 84% of them were made up of individuals who were over the age of 65. There were 98 falls from 1 foot or greater, with over half of those from people who were 65 and over. Beyond the trauma, as I mentioned, of the actual fall itself, it does increase fear, which reduces an individual's ability to live independently. So there are many different avenues to take to prevent falls beyond Fit and Fall Proof, but this particular program started in 2004. It's an evidence-based program which increases individuals' mobility, stability, as well as strengthening their muscles to reduce the risk of falls. Beyond the opportunity to strengthen their physical well-being, it's also a great opportunity to reduce social isolation, which can occur for our elder population, and a good way for them to socialize and have fun. So our Fit and Fall Proof classes are taught by local volunteers. They meet 2 to 3 times per week for a total of 10 weeks. Classes will range between 45 minutes to 60 minutes. The reason it's evidence-based is because they do a pre and post test, and the intervention shows that individuals will increase their time on what is called a tug test, or a time, up, and go. So it's where an individual will sit in a seat, stand up, go 8 feet across the room, go around a chair, go back and sit down. There are varying degrees of time, but essentially the average is if it takes more than 9 seconds for the individual to complete that test, they're considered a high risk for fall. And most individuals who do complete the pre and post and do successfully do all 10 weeks do show an improvement in time with this class. As I mentioned, leaders are all volunteer. So they participate in a 5-hour workshop where they get trained to become a trainer of fit and fall proof. We hold these classes somewhat biannually is our goal. And people often come for refreshers as well, because there are over 120 different classes and exercises they can choose from. And then all instructors are required to do the pre and post tug test. They do provide us with the data of who's participating in the class, how many are participating, so we can make sure that that evidence piece is really being held to the fidelity of the program. So there are 18 different sites currently active here in North Idaho. They are across all 5 counties. Each class will vary in size from 5 to 20 individuals. They're generally going to be hosted at senior centers, fire stations, hospitals. They can be at a senior care facility or assisted living. The only caveat to that is it has to be open to the public. For example, North Star hosts a fit and fall proof class, which is primarily for the residents, but anyone in the community should be allowed to attend for free. So that's the biggest kind of piece to that. So I'm just going to briefly go over some success stories. So these are individual classes. This is our Kellogg office, or not office, our Kellogg site, our Sandpoint site, as well as our Shoshone site. So some success stories we've had is Barbara said she took a tumble that upset her balance, and after starting the fit and fall proof class, her balance was restored. And the next time she stumbled, she was able to keep herself from falling. Ron B tries to attend at least 4 times a week, and it's an important piece of keeping his Parkinson's under control. And then Jeannie says, as an instructor, I see both minor and major changes in participants. Gaining confidence is something we can do. That's a big one. Major plus for the class is the wonderful fellowship and friendships that I've developed. We laugh a lot and have tons of fun. So really, this class, beyond like the functionality and socialization, increasing mobility increases functional fitness for a lot of our seniors in our area, which then of course allows them to live independently and live happy, healthy lifestyles. So Gary, if any of you are interested in participating or becoming a master trainer yourself, Gary is our wonderful health education specialist who coordinates this program. I'm sure he would be happy to invite you to a class. They're quite fun. I've had the opportunity to go and participate myself, and it is a surprisingly good workout. So I want to just thank you for your time and the opportunity to speak with you all today.
Okay, some questions. I'm sure you must have questions, or maybe no one is old enough here to be concerned about falling yet. Any questions, comments?
Do you have anyone in Bonner's Ferry doing it currently or yet, or?
Mr. Chairman? Yes, we do have Bonner's Ferry. We have several sites. I believe there's even one in Moye Springs.
Someone else was starting to ask a question. Was that you, Alan?
I was. So it sounds to me like if this is something that can be improved by practice, is it simply a question of many of these people just spend a lot of time sitting and they aren't up doing things all day long, or what do you think is the issue here?
Yeah. So again, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Yeah, I think that as individuals age, the sedentariness of life sometimes can take over. And so having these free opportunities to provide exercise and provide the social piece shows to increase participation. So I think it's a combination of a lot of things of why individuals become lack of mobile or sedentary? It's hard to say, it's probably individual. But that's a great question. Did that answer your question?
I think so. You know, it just sounded to me like if they have an improvement with this program, that it's got to be just getting them up and getting them out of the house and getting them doing things rather than sitting around by themselves.
Sure. I think, well, the class is like specialized for senior population, so you can, every exercise can be modified. So some exercises are for individuals who can't stand for long periods of time, so you can do a lot of them in your chair. They also have modifications, so you can use a chair for assistance. Or if you're a very mobile person and you just want to make sure that you're maintaining your mobility, you don't have to use a chair at all. So there's different stages. So the way the program's developed is kind of like from that occupational therapy standpoint of like, this is how you stand. So it's definitely tailored to improve mobility and strength for individuals.
Well, do you teach people how to fall gracefully?
I don't think that's part of the class.
That's not a part. That's what I need the most.
You could join Ben Fall Proof. It's a really fun class.
Mr. Chairman, I've had many patients over the years benefit from this program, and it is really valuable in the community. And I would say, Ellen Banks discussing people often home alone tend to sit all day, and having a purpose to get out, and then it's basically physical therapists, everybody's friends teaching each other how to move around. And having something to do for the day that actually works. And I'm not surprised at statistics that show fall prevention.
But on a more serious question, rather than what I first, this idea of getting up too fast and moving right away before you really feel like you have a sense of balance. Is that discussed in your training?
Yeah, so I didn't touch on that too much, but that is a major piece of fall prevention is having regular physicals with your provider, making sure your blood pressure is okay, your vision is okay, reducing obstacles within your house, including rugs. So there's a variety of interventions that can happen for fall prevention. This is just one piece that we can effectively intervene on is fit fall proof. So
It just seems like that when you're younger, you don't think about these things, but I know even little children can fall. I'm trying to think how somebody could try to teach me not to be so prone to falling.
come to a class.
That's too simple.
A game of musical chairs.
Think of it as your second childhood, Marlon.
What would you,
Think of it as your second childhood.
and my second childhood, okay.
Yeah.
But, we smile at this, and yet it is a serious issue.
Sure. Yeah, people go on medications, they have tripping hazards all over the place. There's a lot of things that you gotta educate the public, and this is a great opportunity to do that. So,
You can chat after if you'd like, Mr. Chairman.
Well, the other day, I'll tell you this, Dr. McLanders called me. I answered the phone, and at that time, I was well up a ladder picking cherries. And that was where Dr. McLanders caught me. And what do you suppose his response was? He says, I'm not going to say another word to you until you have your feet on the ground. That's right. And I came down step by step. I didn't fall down.
Not that I heard.
But thank you for what you're doing. I keep trying to tell myself that this isn't important, but I know it is. I know it is, and I have fallen my share of the time, but I don't ever recall really getting hurt. I'm sure if someone had taken a picture in progress of our falls, it could be quite humorous. Any other questions or comments? Well, thank you, and I appreciate the work you do, and you never know, I might show up at a class sometime.
Thank you.
Well, Glenn, do you have something to share with us today on your work with the executive council?
Since during last month, we have not met as an executive council, so nothing to report. All is well, I guess.
None of your board members have fallen or anything?
Not unheard of.
Well, but that is an important job, and there are some times when you are extremely busy, and other times apparently is slack time.
Yeah, we've had a transition, but haven't had any meetings called yet, so.
Okay. All right. We're going to turn to Christina now as she shares with us the financial picture. I think you have a little bit of a closing year picture. Well, go ahead, Christina, you have the floor.
Thank you.
Not that sure.
I apologize for mispronouncing your name.
So we'll be reporting on the 12 months ending June 30th, 2021, for fiscal year 21. And before I get too involved in this, recall back in January that we did a budget revision where we increased the budget by $2.2 million. So that will be reflected in our overages. So we ended the year with $14.4 million in revenues, which was under budget by $96,000. And of course, the $96,000 is a net amount. We did have a couple of under budget in revenue, and that was related to clinical fees and home health fees, as we've discussed previously in other board meetings. And offsetting that was our environmental fees. As we also previously discussed, those were considerably higher due to the construction industry. In fact, they ended about $600,000 higher than what was budgeted. Our total personnel expenditures were under budget by $826,000. They came in at $9.5 million. Total operating expense was, the actual was $3 million, under budget by $570,000. There were a couple of line items that were over budget, all related to COVID. Items such as communication expense, professional services such as when we contracted with Northwest Specialty Hospital to assist us with the COVID testing at the fairgrounds, things like that. But everything else was under budget. Total capital expenditures ended at $511,000. It was $88,000 under budget. Trustee benefits ended at $148,000, which was $146,000 over budget. As we previously discussed, a lot of that was related to pass-through monies that's given to, say, RBHE, Regional Behavioral Health Board, will authorize payment to St. Vincent de Paul to assist with their utilities. A large portion, about $70,000, was related to public health preparedness, the Regional Healthcare Coalition, for monies that went out to community partners to enhance their emergency services. And another one that was mentioned earlier in another board meeting was the $36,000 that was paid to the city of Kellogg. It was previously DEQ money that we've been holding for actually a number of years, and it was finally approved to be paid out. So we ended with total expenditures of 1.1 million, which was under budget by 1.2. Once we adjust for accounts receivable of 500,000, it brings us, and add to our beginning cash balance, it brings us back to an ending cash balance of $5,041,000. Are there any questions on the budget to actual?
I always like to hear your thoughts about the ending balance. Are you comfortable with that? Is it too high, too low?
Well, let's talk about that. That's next.
Good.
So we ended the year with $5 million. It's an increase of 1.6 million over fiscal year 20. Before we adjust for board committed funds and program restricted funds, we have 4.54 months in reserves. After we adjust for those reserves and committed funds, we have 4.08 months in reserves. If you recall the last meeting, we had a conversation about what the board was comfortable with as far as months in reserves. I came up with several options to where we could utilize some of this money. I can do this by myself at my own desk. I just get nervous here and need help. So here are some options that I came up with, and I admit to having a little difficulty seeing at this angle. So I may have to look at my hard copy here. So I presented 4 options. There's option 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I've selected items such as the Sandpoint payoff, additional Hayden principal, future building maintenance, and the 27th pay period. So what option 1 does here is it assumes that we're going to pay, they all assume that we're going to pay off the Sandpoint facility, which that ending balance is about $45,000. Option 1 assumes that we'll make a principal payment on the Hayden facility of $225,000. if we make that payment, it gets us to the time period where the loan resets, where we start having to pay interest again. So that's the minimum. I've estimated building maintenance here at 50%, or excuse me, $50,000, and that's 0.33% of the replacement value of the buildings. I did some research online, and it's recommended anywhere from 1.5% to 4% to budget annual maintenance for your facilities. So I just dropped some numbers in here, and that's where you see these percentages. And then all options include $45,000 for the 27th pay period, which will occur in fiscal year 28. So this is the least aggressive, is option 1, with a minimum payment of $225,000 on the Hayden facility. And that gives us, and this is based on the ending balance as of June 30th, not today's cash balance. Today's cash balance is actually a little higher of 4.23% compared to the 4.08 where we ended on June 30th. So I'm just basing it off from June 30th. So the least aggressive option drops us down to 3.75 months in reserves. Option 2 is if we pay $454,000 on the Hayden facility. If we do that, it will be paid off January 1st, 2025, as opposed to September 2025 was the first option. And that would leave us with a loan balance of $1.1 million. Also in option 2, building maintenance is increased to $100,000 versus option 1 at $50,000.
Christina, question, when you're saying building maintenance, that's for all of the facilities?
That's all of the facilities, yes. So option 3, we increase the Hayden facility principal payment to $680,000, and building maintenance increases to $150,000, and this drops us down to 3.25 months in reserves. And the last option, the most assertive, drops us down to 3 months in reserves with a principal payment of $908,000, which would make the payoff in 8/1/23, and would leave us with a loan balance of approximately $705,000.
So that'd be 2 years.
And building maintenance at $200,000. Now, when we talk about building maintenance, all of the facilities are in good shape. However, this is the oldest building, and in the fiscal year 22 budget, we've included some remodeling for Bonner's Ferry. So it's really this facility and any unexpected items that might come along that we need to plan for. For example, and it only as an example, we got a very, very rough estimate, and I'm quite confident it was very lowball, for carpeting for upstairs on the 2nd floor. This was several years ago, and I'm certain it was underestimated. It was $35,000. That's very low. So that's something that we need to think about. If you look at the wear pattern on the 2nd level, I don't know what it looks like down here, but that's something that we need to be thinking about in the near future. I don't know the condition of the roof liner. And also, if you notice upstairs, you'll see some scuffing on the walls. Our building I've been here 14 years, and so I think the building is now 16 years old. So it's getting to the point where we need to be thinking about some maintenance and planning for it. So my preference And I say this thinking that we can monitor this through fiscal year 22, monitor our cash balance, and always make another additional principal payment if we choose to the Hayden facility or channel money elsewhere. I'm favoring option 3.
Because
Because it puts us at 3.25%. It's not overly aggressive. I'm a little uncomfortable at, or not percent, excuse me, months in reserves. I'm a little uncomfortable going down to 3 months, not knowing what the next few months hold. And also not knowing how House Bill 316 will affect us. That makes me a little uncomfortable as well. So I'm most comfortable with option 3. It gives us a nice principal payment to the Hayden facility. I think it is nice seed money for the building maintenance. And it pays off the Sandpoint facility. And once, excuse me, the Sandpoint facility is paid, excuse me, in the fiscal year 22 budget, it includes the principal payment that we're already making on Sandpoint. That goes directly to Hayden. And it sets us up well for the 27th pay period. Now, moving forward, one thing that we might want to think about is the $45,000 that I calculated for the 27th pay period is based on the current payroll, and I inflated it 2% a year going out to 2028. But our payroll may grow, it may increase if we have increased programs. If we take on additional programs in the district where payroll increases, so we may need to adjust that number a little bit.
Okay, I'd like to talk a little bit, and you can help us out here. First off, I'm assuming up here the Sandpoint payoff and the 27th pay period, that's just a coincidence that they're both 45,000.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
The actual payoff for Sandpoint is like $44,900.
Okay. Now, I'm also hearing, Michelle was telling me how many employees short we are right now. And Michelle, what was that number that you seem to be dealing with, of how many employees, give or take, we're short right now?
Mr. Chairman, it's about 15 to 19.
Mr. Chairman, it's about 15% of our workforce who are being hired.
15%, okay. And I don't dare ask her when she anticipates that these positions will be filled. Look around. I dare you to drive 2 blocks without seeing several help wanted signs. So how does that affect our budget? And what do we do in our overall planning? You were just talking about adding programs. There's no sense of trying to add programs if we can't even get employees to work these programs.
I wasn't proposing that programs would be added currently, but between now and 2028, over a period of 7 years, we may have expanded programs, which would require an increase in the estimate of the $45,000 that we're setting aside for the 27th pay period. So that's not something that would be happening now, it's a what-if scenario. So as far as being down, what was it, 19 FTEs, 19 positions, 17 or 19? Those would have already been budgeted in the fiscal year 22 budget. So those are already captured in fiscal years 22 plans. So that should have no impact on the immediate cash flow. That is one of the reasons why we do have additional cash is there's multiple reasons, such as increased environmental fees, increased indirects that we're receiving on new programs, and also positions that we haven't had filled for a period of time to where we haven't had to pay out cash in salary and fringe. Those have all contributed to an increase in cash. But not having those positions filled would not impact the immediate cash balance. It's already projected.
Glenn, you're about ready to say something.
Well,
I
Mr.
wanna hear it.
Chairman, I just had several questions, be for Christina or for Don, or as far as the personnel, do you have ads out to fill those positions? Okay, so the critical positions, you're not able to accomplish your mission objectives without filling those positions, is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if I may. Yes, Michelle is actively pursuing to replace those positions, but in many of our contracts, if we don't have the staff there, if we've received some grant funds, we send that money back if it's not being utilized.
Because
So
you're not.
it's not necessarily, if we're not filling our positions, that it's a cash flow strength for us, because we will have to send, in some cases, send that money back to the state or the federal government. But all of these positions that are currently available are critical for us to maintain programs that we have, and Michelle's done a wonderful job pushing that, and we're starting to fill some of those now.
Okay.
Question.
Yes.
Christine, you must have explained this and it went right over my head. With each option, the future building maintenance goes up. Why is that?
Because I was dropping the months in reserves. So when I drop the months in reserves, that's more cash that's going out. So I was allocating it between the paving principal and building maintenance. It doesn't have to go to building maintenance. We could put it to paving principal or one of the other categories. It was just an allocation that I chose to do.
So there's no correlation that I missed between future building maintenance and how much we've paid off on the building?
No,
Like
no, no.
it's part of a loan or something that, I just, okay.
No, this is just, we have 4.08 months in reserves in cash. Typically, we've been around 3 months, 3.25 months. So these are just various scenarios that get us back down to 3.25, 3.0. So again, it's just, okay, how much cash do we move out to get to 3.25 months? And my preference is to focus on the pay down of the Hayden facility and recognize that we're going to have maintenance costs with aging facilities.
Got it. But we could just as easily say with option 3, pay off 900 and whatever thousand dollars and devote 100,000 to maintenance.
Absolutely,
I see. Okay.
absolutely.
There's no correlation. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, Glenn?
Mr. Chairman, again, a question for Don and Michelle. These positions, are they specialized, specialty positions, or are they positions that you could fill and train the individual?
Well, Mr. Chairman,
mix,
it's always best if we can find someone who has experience, but
Right.
you look at for example, a health promotion specialist, they come with the skill set, they come with the degree associated with
Sure.
that we're looking for. And then we can be looking for an administrative assistant. And that position is
Training
actually becoming more and more technical. Often they're managing a part of a program or working with a group of individuals. It's not what we used to think of a secretarial position.
they have to be talented. And we have brought people on and we trained them along the way. But if they can have some experience in that area, that's of course.
And these are not conducive to temp hire as far as temporary personnel.
There, Mr. Chairman, of the positions we have open now, none of them are a temporary position. We have learned that we have been in such a growth mode that they will come with us. And let's see, Joe's here with us today. We are looking at more environmental health positions opening, and we were some challenges with that because they compete with Spokane.
Sure.
They can make up to $10 an hour more working in Spokane than here. So another one of the challenges that we face, and that's clearly a technical position that we're looking for.
And are you going to the universities and saying, hey, we need individuals with these degrees and recruiting?
That's an excellent suggestion that we should talk about. We have been listing our positions with the state of Idaho and also with Indeed, with the hosts, but we could be more proactive and do just as you suggested.
We got some big universities not too far from us
Yes,
here.
sir. We should.
Okay. All right.
It just seems like, here's one, Christine is doing this job of allocating this money and managing the budget. And yet here we are with short 15% on our personnel roster. How can you begin to do your work when you never know for sure just what's going to happen in the personnel department?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Mr. Chairman, too, as you remember, halfway through the fiscal year, we take another look at our budget.
Right.
And that's an opportunity for us to review kind of where we are, because it is definitely a moving target. I'm sorry, Christine.
Well, I was just going to say that's where the budget revisions come in.
Yes. Okay, and then I'm also sure that we have a committee that keeps a tab on the physical condition and needs of our buildings. And so is it a matter of, we have this much we could do, but if we had money, we could do a little bit more, or if we do this year, it will cost us less than if we put it off another 2 or 3 years. This is what happens in a lot of public projects. They get put off until they cost the taxpayer a lot more money.
Mr. Chairman, we do have a committee that oversees the buildings and their maintenance. And I would look to Dawn to explain more on that because he facilitates that committee.
For instance, and you, I think you were talking to me about this, go up to Bonner's Ferry and find someone to remodel that building like it needs to be. And I don't see, I'm not there, but maybe Tim sees a lot of people standing around in the parking lot asking for a job. See, that's my point.
Unemployment's at 3.8% in the county, which is the lowest it's ever been.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right now, the only location that doesn't have a permanent facility is Shoshone County.
Correct.
And you're finding it more cost effective, at least over the last year and a half or so, to do it that way versus purchase property or to remodel something. So
Yes.
you're satisfied with that status?
Very, very much. Christine and I have had several discussions about ownership versus lease.
Yeah.
We have 4 wonderful buildings that we own, and we're very, very happy with that. But that lease arrangement thus far has gone very, very well. It's a good landlord, and it's been productive for us, yes.
You're able to maintain an extended lease and the option well, maybe not an option to buy or, but,
There is no option to buy, but it is an extended lease.
okay.
Well, I'm sure some of this will come out in your report.
Yes.
So I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but go ahead, Christine. I just see that, I'm sure glad you understand this.
So, Mr. Chairman, I asked the board, do they want to reduce our current cash balance by selecting one of these options? And if so, which option? And it doesn't necessarily have to be, this amount as shown in the maintenance column. It could be shifted. I would just recommend staying, if we're shifting funds, I would recommend that it stay between the principal payment and the maintenance. The Sandpoint payoff is fixed, and the 27th pay period is fixed as well.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
if I might, just from my standpoint, I'm sure with the board, I do agree and support Christine's 3.25 or 3.5 months of reserve. I think that's a wise choice. We have some uncertainties in front of us. That's a good mark. 3 months is probably a little shallow. I also support planning for the 27th pay period. That's a smart move on our part. Also support the payment and payoff of the Sandpoint facility. That alleviates us and gets us a little more cash positive into the future. Not so much as high on priorities, but I do believe that building maintenance needs to be planned for. And something in the 1 to 3% range is probably appropriate for where we are in this building when you start talking about roofs and carpets and those kind of things. So those are my thoughts for the rest of the building.
all right, let's have some other thoughts or be ready to make a motion.
Over the years, we've been running on 3.25, 3 to 5 now, and I think that's it's worked for us. We do have shifting legislative action that could impact our future revenues. Therefore, I agree not dropping down to 3 months. I do like your distribution site. Like also we presented it just so that we could understand what we're thinking. I think you're very clear with that. So I do favor option 3. Gives us that extra 50,000 at least park for the building in case we need it.
All right, anyone ready for a motion? Do you want to discuss this some more? You're on.
No, I agree with the comments that have been made. I think we need at least 3.25. That's been our traditional cushion. There's still some questions about pending or the legislation and its impact on operations and what's going to happen. So I can support option 3 as well.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Yeah, my comments, I guess I'm with Mike on this, either option 2 or 3. And I don't hear anybody talking about inflation, but prices are going up. And that means that the costs here are going to go up, even though we haven't anticipated them in the budget process. So the more money we hang on to, maybe the better, rather than going for option 4, which initially sounds kind of attractive, pay off the building and so on sooner. But I think we have some uncertainties in some budget surprises here coming up when we find out how much things cost. For example, fuel for the environmental people to drive around, that's increased by 50% now? I think we're going to find other costs are going to go up proportionately, and we need to be cautious, I think, because of that.
Well, Dr. Banks, I think probably you and I can remember when we were early on this board, we struggled to get 2 months reserve.
Yeah, we were running around 1.6.
And so it's wonderful that we're dealing with this type of an issue. Anyone ready for a motion? I will accept the motion.
I would move that we adopt option 3 as presented to the board.
All right, a second?
I'll say it.
All right, thank you, Tim. Any further discussion? We've discussed it quite at length. Are you ready to vote? All in favor of adopting option 3, indicate by saying aye.
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 And opposed, no. And the motion passes for option 3.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate that. This concludes my report.
Okay, any other comments or questions before Christine leaves the podium?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I just wanted to personally thank Christine, as we were assuming our budget to Shoshone County, with all the moving parts of the legislative component. I was able to contact her and she helped us out wonderfully, clear the waters of kind of what to expect, because no one really knows what's happening. I just want to say thank you. That was fantastic.
You're very welcome, thank you.
Okay, now, but we've had one motion here. Does that take care of the agenda where it's calling for 2 building debt reduction? Take care of that adequately for you?
I believe it does. I will have Jill attach this to the board minutes.
Okay,
I'm
and
comfortable
then
with
this
it.
motion also takes care of the board committed funds?
Yes. Yes.
Just want to make sure
Yes.
that we're satisfied on that. All right, thank you so much, Christine. We have an interim director. And he has the floor to share with us what he has today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Just an update on some things here for you. We talked a little bit, we have talked a lot about House Bill 316. There's still a number of questions about this, certainly at the county level, but a lot from the state level. What role do we have with the state with House Bill 316? So I want to let you know that I am attending down in Boise with the other district directors and myself as interim director. Meeting August 3rd and 4th, we have the state controller's office, Office of Group Insurance. We have Department of Human Resources, Department of Environmental Quality, the Office of the Governor. All will be represented at that meeting. And we have a slew of questions for them. So we hope over that 2-day period, we'll at least have some of our questions answered.
Clarification.
Yes, absolutely. And so I just wanted to let you know about that. We are talking about it here within the health district, but it probably won't be till that meeting until we have some additional clarity. Initially, the state isn't quite sure how that will affect them. So I see that information going both ways, from the health districts to the state, back again. So more to come. I look forward to reporting on that later. Also, just to let you know, we are planning to do our ADSM, our employee meeting that we have every year, and this is the 50-year anniversary of public health here in District 1. So that has some great significance, and look forward to that. Michelle and her team will be overseeing that for us. So more to come. Also, you probably already know this, but the National Guard has left us. They demobilized as directed by the governor. We miss them. They were a tremendous asset under Joe's direction, and very sorry to see him go. And most of that now is falling upon the health district. Again, we are near as involved in the COVID response as we once were, but we're a little apprehensive about that right now. We're not sure where that's going to go, but I wanted to make sure you knew that. Also, a little small victory we have, we're finally getting a bus stop out here at the Hayden office, thanks to Cooney County. They're gonna put that in for us. We've had people standing there for a couple of years now, whatever the weather is. And we have clients that use that regularly, so we're very happy that we're gonna get a covered bus stop. You talked earlier a little bit about building maintenance. There is a couple of projects I wanted you to be aware of. First of all, there is the Bonners Ferry internal and external remodel. You may remember that a year ago, we sent out 15 requests for proposals for 15 individuals. I think we had 2 that came back and said, we will not provide you a bid, time and materials, and good luck. Well, that doesn't help us very well. There's state statute that if it's over $10,000, we have to get 3 bids. So as a building committee, we met again. Pete, along with Michelle's help, we're resending those applications. We're trying to make them more flexible. We hope to get 3 bids from that so that we can begin that much needed remodel. And we hope to, in the RFP, we hope to have that complete by the end of the fiscal year FY22. So we're giving them a little breathing room as well. So most of that is internal, so it can happen anytime during the year. So we're just at the whim of getting 3 quality bids. That's what we're really after for that.
There's no way you can get an exemption showing a good faith effort to get 3. Have you talked to anybody in the state?
You know, we should do that, Glenn. Thank you for that reminder. We are giving them a little flexibility in some ranges, like giving them some flexibility to change in pricing of supplies.
Yeah.
That we would give them some breathing room so they don't have to lock in. But we could follow up on that for sure.
Yeah. So the building market right now is just undecided. It's understandable that people are reluctant to commit to a contract, to give you a proposal based, it's gonna be cost plus, guys, sorry. Yeah.
Well, they're just busy, aren't they?
They are.
It's just really where we are. So more to come on that. We also are having there's a number of smaller items we're talking about, get bark outside, a few things. But we are having more and more discussion about the Sandpoint parking. That's a challenge for us right now with our growth, particularly with environmental. So we're talking about how we might be able to make that more efficient, to get more people the ability to park there, but more to come on that. So that's a brief update on our building and maintenance. Our building and maintenance team, we meet every month, and we have our administrative assistants in each office join us so they can let us know not only of building maintenance needs, but also those that are using our building, leasing our space up there, so we can keep that coordinated with all of us.
Maybe you can have your personnel park across the street at Travers Park and open up those parking spots for the patients and.
We have discussed that a number of times, Glenn, and we have a little concern at night crossing that busy road with our staff back and forth. Their safety is a concern for us there, but it is still something we're discussing.
Potential option.
That's the question that Glenn brought that up. Is there any crosswalk painted strips in that area now?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Maybe that can be worked with the city of Sandpoint or somebody. So that you have a safer crossing area there.
I wish we knew just out in the front parking or patient parking in front.
Designated patient.
How often is that completely filled with patients? For that to be an interesting
Study.
study on there. But who wants to sit out there all day with pencil and pad? Yeah. But I don't even know right off how many park spots there are in the front side of that building.
I guess about 6.
15.
It's about 6.
Are we talking about the parking lot or are we talking about on the street?
No,
The parking lot.
parking area.
Oh yeah, the parking area probably has, I would guess, 24, 25. something
But
like that.
in the front of the building,
No, in the parking lot, the enclosed parking lot.
see, I realize that the employees need a place to park and many of them have their own
company vehicle, but I never dreamed that back south side of that
Be
building.
insufficient.
Yeah, yeah. It just surprises me, but things, a lot of things surprise us anyway. And of course, we are remembering, and Don and I talked about this, that there is one parking spot on that south parking lot that is a private parking spot. Yep. And we went ahead and paved it, so it all looks the same, but it's still.
And then, Mr. Chairman, my last item here, we have, our next Board of Health meeting had been previously scheduled for September the 24th. We wanted to see if it would be possible to reschedule that, making sure it's okay with everyone, for the following week on September 30th. And Mr. Chairman, that's the end of my report.
All right, do we need some type of poll as far as changing the date from the 23rd to the 30th?
And what's the reason for that again?
Yes, sir, it's the 23rd, I'm sorry, to the 30th. The question really would be the district director, whether that person will be on board. If I am still the interim director at that time, and a new director is not hired, I'm on vacation that week, which was tentatively scheduled months ago.
I see.
So it's just a matter of convenience.
Yes, to have a director here, whether it's interim or the new director.
I would have no problem with us adjusting that.
Anyone have a problem with September 30th? And then we'll have it taken care of, whatever the situation is.
So I know that I'm at a out-of-town vacation that day, so I'm one voice gone.
One voice on the 30th.
Either day.
And of course, you don't know about Dr. Jameson.
I think she already indicated that she could be here at this meeting. She couldn't, at that meeting, she wasn't available for this. Or I have to check with her. on
Needs to be
schedule.
coordinated. Yeah.
She was marking off the fourth Thursday, of course, this is the fifth Thursday. Whether that would be a problem.
Mr. Chairman, I move that this board approve changing the September 2021 date from the 23rd to the 30th of September.
Okay. Is there a second to this motion? All right, moved and seconded that we adjust the September meeting from September 23 to September 30. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Well, Dr. McLanders, enjoy your vacation. You always missed, but you all understand. So, we're taking care of that. All right. Every year about this time, it's our duty to elect officers, chair, vice chair, and trustee, and that's kind of a double name as part of the executive council, right?
Yes.
What's the correct term now? How is that used correctly? What should you say?
Well, the trustee is our representative on the executive council.
Okay. But you're still called a
The
trustee?
trustee, yeah,
Okay,
the one trustee.
all right. Okay, how do you wish to go about the election? I do have ballots, if you want to do ballots. I have ballots for chair, I have ballots for vice chair, ballots for trustee. Do you want to do it, however, ballots, motion?
I would just maybe ask first a question on two parts. One, our current chair and vice chair and trustee willing to continue in their current positions. From you, Marlo, and then Glenn. For you,
Yeah, to that, but I would consent to continue.
with that in mind, I would make a motion to, that we ask Chairman Thompson to continue as chair and Glenn to continue as vice chair and as trustee.
All right, you've heard the motion. Is there a second to the motion?
Mr. Chairman, second.
All right, we have a second. Is there any discussion now to the motion as been moved and seconded? Any discussion, comment? Hearing
I
none,
would just discuss, thank you guys for taking that on. I know it takes extra energy and time and for doing such a good job, both of you.
I know what Glenn's job. You have to kind of work up to it until you understand what's going on.
Take some corporate memory.
Yes.
I'm glad that I've got at least 7 years of experience.
Yeah. All right, let's vote on the motion. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. And motion carries. So, I do have some ballots here, if anybody wants some paper airplane material.
Save it to next year.
All right. All right, at this time, I would entertain a motion for executive session. The first, I'm coming, that's the regular meeting, open meeting is now adjourned. There will be no open meeting following the executive session. So if there's anyone here who wants to come back after the executive session for the open meeting, there won't be. So, does that cover it?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I think that covers that. We just didn't want the members of the public to think that something might happen. There will be no action taken after executive session, and the meeting will be over.
Or if you wish to come back into regular session
To
and
close
then
the meeting.
adjourn,
Yeah,
if you prefer that way, we can do it that way.
I think that's more standard. We just make a motion to go into executive session this time, then reconvene for public meeting to go ahead and announce what was discussed. No decisions were made, but if there is an issue that needs to be decided, we could then do it at that meeting.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, actually, the law has changed here in the last few years. In order to take action on something following executive session, it needs to be posted or on the agenda as an action item. So our executive session today, your executive session today, will be just information of the board and to discuss the appropriate subject for executive session.
Okay.
And
So
then when we come
no
back to
decision.
open, the only action that we can do is adjourn the meeting.
So if there were to be some action after an executive session, it would have to be something on the agenda not related to executive session.
Right, it may be personnel. At some point, this board's going to have to take some action on executive session, following executive
Yeah.
session, on the personnel issue, the hiring of the executive director. But that's not on the agenda for this meeting.
So to announce it ahead of time. Make it-
Yeah.
That's part of the
Yes, it needs to be on the agenda.
Okay, well, but the the motion itself says that it's to consider hiring a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent. And that's just quoting Idaho code.
Correct, Mr. Chairman.
So when we come out, if we decide that we have selected 3 individuals or several individuals to appear for interview, then we could announce that, wouldn't we?
You could, it probably takes the entire board's action, so.
Because it would have to be published for at least 48 hours, so that,
So I think in executive session, we're going to discuss the search and what the process is and what decisions need to be made. But those decisions need to be made at a different meeting.
yes.
So yes, that is the subject of the executive session, but no decisions can be made today.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, based on that, I move that we go into executive session under Idaho Code 74-206, subparagraph 1, subparagraph A, to consider hiring a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent.
All right, all in favor, Tim? Dr. Banks?
Yes.
Do we have a second on that?
Needs to be seconded.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll second.
All right, we have a second. All right.
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
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 All right. Got it covered.
We're covered, we're in executive session now.
Okay, we'll excuse everybody.